Today we will learn about functions in Python. So a function is a group of code that starts running when it's called. It's very useful to use when you have many lines of code, but you only want to run a specific part of your code and not everything else. So to create a function, we will use the keyword def, and then we can name our function whatever we want. If you're trying to add spaces, so like a function like that, instead use an underscores, which basically acts as a spacebar. So uh function. Then make sure you add in your open and closing bracket and the colon. You press enter. And then here is when you will actually be able to use your function to create or to do mathematical operations or print in any words you want. By mathematical functions, I mean you can just do print, right, number like 25 minus 9. And if we want to run this function or call it, we will basically type out its name, function, and then the two brackets. So then if we were to run this, it should print out the answer of 25 minus 9, which is 16. Same goes for if you want to add in a sentence instead. So you can just do this is a function. If we're to run this, it basically print out this is a function. With a function, you can also take in information inside of these brackets and separated by a comma, and they're called either an argument or a parameter. So basically, to create an argument, simple as that, as just creating it, naming it whatever you want. So we'll just do with names. So I'll just do first name. I'll shorten it to FN. So then we'll create a sentence for using FN. So hello, my name is. We can either use comma or a plus sign, your choice. I'll use a plus sign for now. Then we'll do fn. So in here, since fn does not actually have, you can think of fn as a variable. Right now it's an empty variable, which means it doesn't have anything inside of it. So if I were to run this function, it'll create an error because there is nothing inside of um there's nothing inside of fn. We do that, we give it something by putting it inside here when we're calling it. So we call the function, and in between those two brackets, we'll add in a name. So I'll put in James as the first name. So if we were to run this, it should say, hello, my name is James. And make sure you add a space right over there. There you go. Hello, my name is James. With a function, it can have as many arguments as you want. So, you can have last name or middle middle name and stuff like that, right? But make sure when you're calling it, it has all of those answers. It has all of those variables. Because if it only has the first name, but it does not have the last name, it'll create an error because it's missing one argument, which is ln or last name. So we do that by just creating another adding a comma in here, which will add in the last name of just Baker. So fn plus ln. And now we run it. Hello, my name is James Baker. If you want to add in a space there, you basically have to add in an empty an a quotation with just one space in between of fn and ln, which would create the space here, like over here. A cool tip you might want to use is if you have a function that is blank, right, and you just have nothing in there. If you were to run it, it'll create an error because it expects something to be in there, and even if you've indented something, it'll still say that there's an error. So to remove that error, you would just put in the keyword pass. So it'll basically pass the function. So it'll just overlook it and continue on with the rest of the code right there. It would still just run this itself, or even if I don't run this and I don't have the pass there, it'll still create an error. So yeah, make sure you have the pass there, or you might want to add that in if you have a blank function. One more thing I want to teach you is an input, where we can basically have an we can take in an answer given by a user or yourself. What I mean by that is let's create a variable and basically in adding input, the word input in there, bracket, and then we add in whatever question we want. So let's add in how old are you? And with that, we can use it um, for our answer. I am X years old, which is a very cool thing. So we can take in an input from a user. So let's put on a random age, 56, and it'll put in I am 56 years old. With that little lesson, let's move to a new one. So we'll create a simple calculator functions. So we'll create one for adding. We'll also create one for subtracting, um, dividing, and multiplication. So with this, we can use um, a another variable. They'll add in the input, so we can turn it into. We can use it for ourselves. So let's add in enter a value. Then we can do another input, enter a second value. And then here we'll create another variable that would basically add up both A and B together. A plus B. But the problem here is both A and B's are considered a string. So meaning instead of it actually adding the number um, like you do in math, instead it'll join in the two numbers together. I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I did print total, so just pass all of these functions, and then just do, when you call out the add function, enter value, do 4 and 5, it'll mix in 4 and 5, which is not how you add in a number. So instead, you could either do int here, so it'll already turn it into an integer, or you can do, you can add int here, but make sure you add the necessary brackets inside. So either you can both put int both here, or you can just add it afterwards. So when you actually add them using the total, it'll actually print out both what A and B will actually be. So let's do again 4 and 5, 9. So let's do the same for subtracting. So let's do A, just basically copy this again. There we go. And B, same again. You can use the same variables because they won't be seen or like use the seen by the other functions because it's only using one of them. They're not being used at the same time. So once again, A, but it's a minus, and B. Print total. Now we'll just do this. We'll call in the sub instead. Let's let's call it enter value. It's the same thing again. 25 and let's do 7. 18. Yep, it works. And let's move on to the next one. Division. Let's copy in this. And here we'll use this sign. And we'll do print total once again. Let's see if it works. Div, call it. Let's do 20, let's do 30 divided by 6, which is 5. That works. One more time for um, multiplying. We'll use the asterisk sign by just doing Shift 8, and we'll just print total. And then we can just call it again, prod, and to run that. So 5 times 10 is 50. Yeah, there you go. An even cooler way you can do is you can add in def, let's call it question, where we will ask if they want to use if they want to add, subtract, divide, or multiply. So let's do that. Input. Do you want to add? Let's do bracket 1, subtract 2, divide 3, or multiply 4. So with that, we can use our if statements that we've learned previously. So if Q is equal to, make sure you add in the single or double quotations. So let's say 1, it will instead run add. Next, we can also do user elifs. Elif Q is equal to 2, we will use the subtract function. And another one for elif, if Q is 3, then we'll use the division. And lastly, if we do the elif for Q is equal to 4, then it'll use the multiplication one. We can even use another one. Else, we can do print ye you have inputted none of the numbers, or you've inputted the wrong number. So instead we'll run question. So then where should we go? We can use subtraction. So we'll enter value, let's go 1000 minus 569 for 31. Then we can run it again. And this time we'll use multiplication, enter a value, 50 times 6, 300. Yep, that works. Can even use our addition. Just do random numbers. 242. Looks about right. And lastly, we can try our division too. So let's do 900 divided by 9, which is 100. Yeah, that's it. It's a very nice function that you could try. You can even make your own, which is very nice to do.